Think about the gym, right? How many people wake up when that alarm goes off at 5:30, 6 o'clock, whenever it does, and you're like, yes, here we go. I'm going to the gym because I want to. There's a very small few. No, you fight yourself. You're like, oh my God, I gotta go to the gym. I gotta get up. It's dark still. I gotta get my shoes on. I gotta do this stuff. I should go, right? Your mindset is not exactly there. Then you go and do it. How do you feel after you go to the gym, right? Amazing.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Ground Up Podcast. Super excited about today's episode. We've got another banger of a guest today. Before we get too deep into everything, how are you doing today, Ryan?
Doing good, man. Feeling good. Weather's starting to get colder. Flannels are coming out. I'm positive today, man.
Is the cold weather an optimistic time for you? For me, it is a start of there's good things that happen in the winter, but the weather is not one of them. Does that signal good things for you?
This signals the mountains are going to open up soon, and I got nothing more freeing in my life than being on a mountain just ripping down it, dude. So I'm excited. Snowboarding, and they're already starting to make snow at the mountains I go to up in Vermont, so I'm ready, dude.
When you say mountains, snowboarding, and ripping, the first thing that pops in my mind is not how I'm going down the mountain is my knee at the age of 42, how it's going to rip the ligaments and tendons inside of my knee. That would be my concern of going down a mountain any faster than a slow walking pace at this age.
I feel you, man. And that's why people look at me weird when I'm in the gym doing workouts that don't make sense until you know why I'm doing them. Like, yeah, I'm old. I don't want to break. And the reason I'm twisting my knees and ankles like this with weights is because I need them to be strong enough to handle it. Dude, I get you. It
sounds like me. I'm on the cable thing doing side twists for my golf stroke just to kind of help create a little bit more mobility and a little bit more core strength to drive through on my drive. So I'm with you on that.
Hey, somebody has to support the chiropractors of the world, man. I'm one of those guys.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So Ryan, I've gotten a chance to get to know you a little bit. I've heard you on a podcast of a buddy of mine. That's prompted me to reach out. I've followed you on social media a little bit. Every once in a while, you pull that guitar out and you strum a couple of lines there. Sure. But outside of you doing that, tell me a little bit about you professionally.
I mean, what's to know? As a professional, I got this little sign behind me, igniting joy. Like, I just want to figure out how am I doing things that both have me having fun, which I love doing what I'm doing. You know, you always heard the old cliches, like you don't work a day. I definitely work a lot of days and I still love what I do, but like that's part of it, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of what I do is working with individuals who are struggling to like get past this one thing. Maybe they're plateauing. Maybe their businesses are not exactly where they want it to be. And whether or not they can admit that to me, that's step one. Right? Admitting there's an issue. There's something I want to do that's more, better, differently. And at that point, we figure it out together. Is that a strategy thing? Is that a structure thing? Are the right people in the right seats? Or is it a technique? Behavior, attitude, technique, something that has to happen. Dude, I just get up. I get to work with people, figure out the issues, get some solutions put in place, and then live vicariously off people just friggin' killing it in the space. So, which is fun for me.
I love that. It's funny that you said what you just said there, because I'm not joking. 5 minutes before we get into this podcast, I'm actually talking to one of my managers, and I had an opportunity come my way the other day, and it was one of those I lined up perfectly with what the opportunity was looking for, but the company decided to go another direction. And Ryan, I think you'll find this interesting. I'm a firm believer in faith. I'm a firm believer in let life give you what it gives you and take what it takes from you. And I thought for sure that I was going to line up perfectly with what they were looking for, and they decided to go a different direction. And I actually knew somebody that was in a higher role within that organization. I reached out there and I said, hey, I told them that I knew you and worked with you in the past. Did they by any chance come to you and talk to you? She said, no, they didn't get a chance to. They actually did reach out and asked a couple other people, and they didn't get the feedback they were hoping to get about you. So that on the surface is like, man, that's pushing. That's not necessarily the greatest thing you want to hear about yourself, but when I was talking to my manager and I was telling him this, he was like, it's so interesting. And I said, look, reality of it is, Dan, the likelihood of who they went back to talk to was somebody really early in my management career. And when I was an early manager, I was a tyrant, Ryan. I was young, immature, incredibly successful, but I was willing to step on anybody to get where I wanted to get. And I rubbed people the wrong way. And my level of intensity, Ryan, has always been very intimidating to people. And a lot of times I've looked at it and said that my intensity intimidates them, not because I'm an intimidating person, because it exposes things within themselves they realize they don't have. And so I know early in my career, 7 years ago when I first got into leadership, I was really, really successful in every opportunity I had. My team that worked with me directly reaped those rewards, but the people around me looked at it and were very much like, what is this guy doing? What is he not doing? Those types of things. And so I know that there was a reputation I carried within my career early in there. Now I also am self-aware enough to look back at myself and know that there was some maturing that I needed to do. There was some calming of my nature I needed to do, and I needed to be able to focus less on my own personal, massive growth and be able to work on what I have learned to become is the most important asset to me in my professional career, which is my professional network. And at that point in time, I didn't care what bridge I burned, as long as I took a step forward. Now in today's world, I'm unwilling to burn a bridge no matter what happens. But what I heard you just say was the self-awareness of a leader. And my manager just said, man, I hope 10 years from now in my career, I have the level of self-awareness you have about you, your deficiencies, your strengths, and can look back at myself to understand where it goes. Do you think in your experience that most people have a decent level of self-awareness, or do most people live in a level of delusion about themselves?
Well, isn't it a much nicer world when you live in a delusion of yourself?
For sure.
I mean, everything is unicorns and lollipops and everyone loves you and you do all the right shit all the time. Like that's your jam if that's the delusion you live. And dude, you just said the word intensity. I have been called intense myself before. And sometimes I don't get it. Sometimes I think that people go back to high school when they had somebody in their life and they're projecting that person on you because that person had charisma. That person was somebody who they either didn't like or maybe even looked up to, but never really got there, never aspired enough to be able to get there. And they project that onto you like this person is like that person. And that's the growth model, right? That's on us to adapt to them so that they don't feel that friction and that they want to adapt more to be like us and be more, or we want to adapt to them. But, to your main question, I think it's really hard to have self-awareness if you're not intentionally working on it, right?
Yeah.
They say awareness is the first step to improvement. 90% of the clients I work with, the reason they continue to work with me after the first month or 3 months is because we help them to uncover something they themselves never even knew was happening, was holding them back. And 90% of that, dude, is between the two ears, right? The mindset that's holding them back, the stuff they're telling themselves that they're doing well or doing bad when it may or may not be true. It takes that outdoor perspective. You said intensity. My favorite story around intensity was when I was an educator years ago and I went into sales and now I teach sales, right? Full circle.
Yeah.
When I was an educator, I went for an interview for a confidence coach. And I was like, cool, confidence coach. I'm going to kill this. Now I was young, probably way too cocky, but I walked in and I did my thing and I had a great interview in my own sense. Then I asked them one question. I said, hey, I don't care. Get it, not get it, whatever worked. But this is education. Can you help me by telling me afterwards, what was right, what was wrong? If I don't get it. And they're like, great. So I called them 3 times. They wouldn't answer. They were pushing me away. And I was like, no, I'm getting my answer. Now they're dodging me. And eventually I got some on the phone. They said, well, what we felt was you were too confident. And I lost my mind. I'm like, I was too confident
to be a
confident coach.
Yeah.
But what I realized in hindsight was I never realized the confidence came off as cockiness, which is a very, very
fine line there, but it's a very different thing, right?
Now I teach assertiveness instead, right? There's a way to say so. You could say anything to somebody if you say it the right way. Not the words, it's the way, right? And that's where I come from. But yes, people live in delusion. It's my job to help them figure out if that is true or not.
So in my first role where I was elevated into an executive role. The same kind of company where I believe this feedback came from, the company that I had worked with this lady on that I got the feedback from. I was outperforming all the numbers that were expected. I mean, we were growing like a rocket ship, right? But they ended up deciding to hire me an executive coach to teach me some of the maturity things that I needed to be taught, which was great. And I was glad they're willing to do that. And you right now work with a lot of individuals, probably people like I was in that spot, right? I mean, and correct me if I'm wrong here. The level, people that you work with, is it generally executives going out and deciding they want to get help? Or is it companies hiring help for their leader? Is there a way it generally goes, or is it, how does that work?
Yes, and this is a yes and statement. So there is a smaller portion of people who are willing and able, right? I call myself a serial learner. They align with me too. Like they're just there to learn. They want to learn what's new. What could they be doing better? There is a handful of people like that. Most people are here in handcuffs, dude. Their manager, their leader decided the numbers don't make sense. We need to make a change, and we're bringing in Ryan because he's going to help management manage better, salespeople sell better, the teams communicate better, and that causes all sorts of issues because the first session is not training at all. The first session is enrollment, right? How do you get people enrolled to break through the handcuffs and say, no, you know what, I'm actually here because of that delusion you talked about. Half people are like, dude, I've been doing this for 20 years. I know exactly how to sell. And when you sit down and go, so you know exactly how to sell, but you got a 20% closing ratio and your numbers are on a either plateau or a decline. Help me understand that, right? Help me understand you know how to sell, but it ain't working. And eventually it comes to that point where they have to make a decision. I either want to do better or not. And no skin off my back, dude. Like anything I'm doing, I'm going to get paid here. But it would be really nice if you actually did the shit I'm telling you to do so that we could all get better.
Yeah, it works, right?
Like, let's do this together. Some people make that decision, though, that they're not interested. And I'm all right with that.
It's interesting because when I got placed with that, I looked at it as, man, it was the best thing that could have happened to me.
What an opportunity. Wow.
What an opportunity that the company believed in me enough to be able to help me soften some of my sharp edges. Like they knew I had something that was worth investing into. And it would have been easier for them just to get rid of me and bring in somebody with a more impressive resume. But I was a homegrown leader. I was a guy that started with them as a territory sales rep. I elevated into a regional manager. I built and created multiple divisions within their organization, and I grew to become the head of sales. I took their sales team from 10 sales reps to over 60 sales reps in my time there with an outside-the-box process that they never considered and nobody else at the time was doing, built around SDRs. And so they knew there was a thing I could bring, and I was cheap as it gets compared to the market. I knew if I took my value to the market, I was worth almost double than what they were paying me. So their investment into me at that time, I was like, this is great. And at that point in my career, I was like, I'm going to bypass the salary that I could get in other places. I'm going to bypass this. And all of these things are giving me the skills and the experience that are going to ultimately help me and help me so much today. Now, you had mentioned earlier in your first intro that there's a lot of different things you'll help people with. No, Ryan, if there is one thing that you think like, this is my bread and butter, if a person, a company, a leader, a seller needs help with this one single thing, this is the thing I do better than anybody else and better than anything else I do.
Wow. Really tough question, Matt. And, I'm trying to live out, not in my own delusion right now.
Okay, good.
So to really think about that, I'd have to look back at a bunch of different clients that I've worked with and try and find some quick trends of like what has really helped. And I think one of the things I do really well is I bring people out of the cage of I don't need to learn this.
Okay.
Right? I'm very good at getting through to them because I have studied people, psychology. And the thing that I'm really good at is understanding where people are at and why they're defending their position. Why they're willing and able to dig in and say, this is who I am and what I have to be. And then breaking through that, like I have found that's where my superpower is. Because some of my favorite clients, I can think of one, she literally 3 weeks in said, this is a bunch of none of this will ever work in my business. I'm out. And I talked to her And I said, hey, she didn't say that in so many words. So I sat down and I said, I think you think that this is BS and I'd like to hear your thoughts on it. And she unloaded, right there. She gave me it. She's been with me for 2.5 years and she tells everybody that I'm her sales counselor, right?
Okay.
Like do this. Their business has grown 166%. She was ready to quit in 3 weeks. She's been with me for 3 years.
Wow.
Like that kind of stuff, it's necessary because otherwise, I don't care how long you train somebody. If they never fell into I want this stage,
For sure.
it's still going to go out the other side.
100%. They've got to want it more than you want it for them. And that's one of the big things I absolutely preach. Now, Ryan, do you find yourself in these scenarios, and I think I know the answer to this, but I'd rather you say it. Do you find yourself teaching more mindset or skill set? Or is it a combo of the two? But which one is it more of?
Yeah. We actually look at 3 things: behavior, attitude, and technique. Everyone thinks you come to sales training for technique, right? This is what you're regarding. I spend 99% of my time on mindset and behavior, but those come kind of behavior comes almost intuitively, right? It's like, I know I need to make calls. I know I need to do this to be able to get there. It's just they're not doing it. That falls back on mindset. To answer directly, it goes to mindset, man. It goes to like, what is it that's holding us back, right? And you mentioned it before, which is, in my opinion, why 99% of sales managers fail, because they were the best in the name, the best, like you were. You were a phenomenal salesperson. And what companies do so wrong is they go, you know what I should do? I should make the guy who brings in all the money stop bringing in all the money and go start managing people without training. I don't disagree that the best of the best could be a phenomenal manager with training. But 99% of companies just go, Matt, you're the best. Teach everybody else that. And those are called non-transferable skills. It's like, I know how to do it, but like, I can't get Jerry to do it. He's a dud. Right now, it's like, I'm a bad manager. No, I'm just in the wrong position with the wrong training.
But I would maybe push back on that. Those people, most cases in my experience, are bad managers, Ryan. They are bad managers, like, because they don't know how to translate what they comes so natural to them into somebody else. I mean, if you think of Larry Bird, Isaiah Thomas, Magic Johnson, they all tried to be great head coaches and they sucked because they weren't so naturally gifted and so naturally talented. They just couldn't connect with the role player who was the guy who's sitting at the end of the bench. I mean, why Phil Jackson, Popovich, Belichick is they created a systematic approach, a triangle offense, you might say, that gets the most out of your MJ and Kobe, gets the most out of your Shaq, but also optimizes your Robert Orr, your Derek Fishers. It is getting the best out of every player there. And I think that if you want to become a great sales leader, you have to have a system that you follow that's duplicatable for most. Not all, but for most. And there needs to be a foolproof system, coaching mechanism, tracking mechanisms. There needs to be a bunch of analytics and reports you can look at that can tell you those things. And it's so funny, you use different acronyms, but we teach the same thing. You said behavior, attitude, technique. I've taught for over 10 years pitch, pace, and attitude. And it's the exact same thing. Pitch is the technique. The pace is the behavior. And the mind, or you said attitude is the mindset.
Yeah.
It's the same exact thing. And what I've found is 80% of the time when somebody's successful, it is the attitude. And when they aren't successful, it's the attitude, because the attitude drives, in your scenario, it drives your behavior. The attitude drives the technique. And I'm explaining why, and then you disagree with me here.
Yeah.
For me, when I say pitch, pace, and attitude, when I've got a clear motivational why, I'm confident, I know what I'm talking about, I am motivated to do, I'm going to make more calls. I'm going to pick up that phone even more. I'm going to drive through the finish line and not just check the box of activity. And when I've got the right mindset, when I'm confident that, like you said earlier, the what, not the how, it's more about what, not what I say, it's how I say it. And when my confidence is right, when my mindset is right, when I'm not assuming a rejection is going to come in that sale, I'm able to deliver those exact same words with a different outcome just because I said them better. So the attitude, when you really focus on the mindset and attitude side, I've found that it actually cleans up the pitch side. It actually cleans up the pace side. So often when people aren't selling, I find too many sales leaders go right to the technique, the skills.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not what you say in most cases, it's how you say what you say, and it's what are you trying to accomplish with it. But Ryan, when I first said it, you kind of said, I don't know. So what did you disagree with when I first said it?
All right, man. So I don't disagree that mindset is extremely important.
Okay.
However, I think behavior drives mindset. Let me put it in I'll give you 2 examples.
Please.
This podcast, right? You probably had the mindcast of like, I'm going to kill this. I'm going to do this. It's going to be amazing. And the first podcast, how was it?
Sucked.
It sucked, right?
Yeah.
But the more and more you did the behavior, the more your mind was driving to, I am good at this. I can do this. This is amazing, right? Behaving your way out of the funk. Another one that anyone could get into, if you don't have your own podcast, think about the gym, right? How many people wake up when that alarm goes off at 5:30, 6 o'clock, whenever it does, and you're like, yes, here we go. I'm going to the gym because I want to. There's a very small few. No, you fight yourself. You're like, oh my God, I gotta go to the gym. I gotta get up. It's dark still. I gotta get my shoes on. I gotta do this stuff. I should go, right? Your mindset is not exactly there. Then you go and do it. How do you feel after you go to the gym, right? Amazing. Behaving your way to the funk. The more and more you do it, all of a sudden you're like, okay, I'm seeing results. My mind is there. I feel better. The mindset is here, but it was driven by the behavior. That can go for anything. Sales calls, for instance. If people hate sales calls, their mindset is not going to switch to, I love sales calls. They're great. Till they have like 25 sales calls and 5 of those go, you know what, that sounds great. Why don't we have a meeting? Now all of a sudden they're like, you know what, maybe this stuff does work. So the mindset tends to trail it. So I do agree, mindset is important, but I think there is a way to behave your way out of a funk. But that starts with like actually taking the first step. Start doing the behavior.
Yeah. And look, start doing the behavior is great. The going to the gym part and committing to yourself that you got to go. But here's the other thing. If you do that for 6 months and that scale or the body composition never changes, will you continue to do it? Now, the alternative is if I do it for 2 weeks and I've dropped 7 pounds, that 7 pounds is going to affect my continual motivation to go. So it is a push and a pull. The way I look at it, it's a push and pull. There is not one thing that we only can focus on. But for me, there's a lot of different metrics that line up in regards to that. Now, let me ask you this, Ryan. Is there an area of specialization? I know that you and I talked previous to this, and we talked a little bit about what I do. We talked a little bit about what you do. I started talking a little bit about my automotive experience, which was kind of like an interesting new venture into your mindset, because where you come from, they kind of avoided the automotive industry for certain reasons. And maybe you want to get into that, maybe you don't. But that's where most of my background is. Where do you tend to focus? And I'd love to hear from you kind of what questions you might have around the automotive side that I can maybe speak to, and we can kind of maybe learn from each other.
Yeah. Again, a really good question, because the Sandler Network has this, everybody in my world uses this word, and I kind of don't like it, but then again, like it does matter. Industry agnostic, right? That's a new like buzz term we all hear, which means like I can do anything, but we don't want to be the jack of all trades.
Right.
If you have a sales team between 3 to 1,000 people, you're dealing with a lot of the same issues, no matter what. And we can handle all of those. Now, I really like working with B2B and B2C teams who are meaning I don't like commodities and transactional. That tends to be more price driven. And if that's the case, it is really hard. It's not impossible, but it's really hard to teach a different mindset around commodities based, because they've been so driven to cost is the benefit. Cost is the deciding factor. And in a lot of commodities, that's actually correct, right? So we don't look at commodities.
Explain that to me a little bit more. And first off,
sure.
Define to me what a commodity is when you just say that, just to make sure that I understand that process. And to me, what you just said there, that cost is, what was the phrase you used?
Cost is the deciding factor.
Cost is the deciding factor. I want to dig in a little bit more on that statement after, but help me understand what a commodity is, just so I can understand that better, because I don't know that.
Sure. So commodities are things like, they could be rare. Well, let's talk about like lumber, right? Lumber has a price. Everyone knows what the price is. It's going to come in at this. It's going to be sold at that.
Okay.
commodity based thing. There could be like wheat or something like that. That is,
Okay,
we
makes
know
sense.
what the price of wheat is. Oil, we know what the price of oil is. We know how it's going to come and how it's going to buy. Now that's on the larger scale. Once it gets down to your local scale, you know there's that one gas station down the block that sells it for like 30 cents more a gallon.
Right. Okay.
That's not sort of the commodities. What we look at is, as in relation to that is, someone who is a B2B sale, they really have to build relationships rather than be, here's the order, track it, click it, and go, which we talked about a little bit before we started today, like AI. I think commodities is going to be moving towards that. Like, this could be automated. Why do we need people? If we know what the price is, it's set, we know how it's going to be moving, like just click a button and go. In my businesses that I work with, they need relationships. They need to understand how important they are and what they relate to. So, my job is to make them understand that selling one widget or one car even should relate to selling 4 cars, right?
Okay.
Don't sell one car to one person. Build a relationship so they like you so much, they're going to tell you about to everybody else in the world. 1 car turns into 5 cars. That's what we're looking for, that 5 to 10x return on every sale. How do they get there? That's relationships. So that's the difference between what I'm looking at. And B2B, B2C, it used to be different. There used to be a world where there was like one decision maker. Real estate was one of those worlds where it was like the guy with the really nice suit and the big purse strings would come in and go, I like this building. This looks good. I'm going to buy this. Now you have 5 to 10 different decision makers on everything. Even if you're selling an HVAC system or a water filtration system, it used to be whoever was the breadwinner of the house, they made the decision, things were happening. Now you got the wife, you got the sister, you got your mother-in-law's there, you got your kids that are like, I don't know, let me think about it. There are so many more decision makers. So that changes your approach. You can't be transactional anymore. You have to be building relationships and understanding that buyer journey, right? How are they going to go from X to Z? That's where we see a lot of difference there. I hope that.
No,
Yeah.
it does. And it makes sense because at first when you said like price is the deciding factor, I'm thinking like, man, I have always repositioned that the value is. But it's hard to distinct value on a commodity like that. Like gas is what gas is. My gas is no different than your gas is no different than that gas. It's just how much is my gas, right? Now and that's probably where I've exposed a little bit of my lane that I've been in, which is mostly on like software, mostly in SaaS, and where, there's different avenues I go where, we might sell in some areas in like the automotive industry, you're selling in the franchise world. You're really not selling against a budget. You're selling against your competition. What do you get for the money? And the budget's not even the concern because most of the prices for the services are equivalent across all of the options. It's just slight variations of value to the product. And then I've also sold similar products in the independent industry where you're selling against a budget. They've got $5,000 total to spend on marketing, and where you take money from, it's going to come out of the budget they would spend other places. So you've got to be able to justify your value of your price and what they get in exchange for the money. So I've always tried to make sure with all the people I teach and coach, it's like, let's not ever think about the price. It's never the price. It's always what you get for the price in distinct in comparison to what you're selling against what else is in the market. Don't worry about how much it costs. Your product might be 10x the cost, but if it's 10x the value for that 10x cost, your customers will, if they can afford it, will buy it. It's just about what you get. So that does make a ton of sense. And the transition of the transactional sale versus the relationship sale, that's an interesting thing. And that's also something that I've had to learn along the way. And a lot of the sales organizations I've been in, the organizations have been large enough that when you make the sale, you hand it off to an onboarding rep, and then the onboarding rep hands it off to the customer success manager, and you're on to the next guy. Recently, a couple of the companies I've consulted with and coached with have had more of a full cycle sales process, and then you maintain the supporting of that customer. I obviously like to focus now in today's world on kind of founder-led sales organizations where it's a much smaller organization where you got to wear many different hats. So in that world, what do you do for that person who maybe is always sold transactionally, but now they need to learn how that once they sell it, they've got to maintain it? Anything changes around that?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's the questions that you're asking, right? I mean,
Okay.
if you're really paying attention to just what we came here to talk about, you're missing the entire opportunity to build a relationship, right? Step back for a moment and, hey, I know we're here to talk about XYZ and you want to get the pricing on it. We're going to get there. Tell me a little bit more about like, why are you in the market? Like, where are you from? What are you doing? Right? Let's get back there. See if there's any connections there. And you talked about value. When I think about value, a lot of times a value proposition is what it can do for you rather than what am I solving? Right? That's the question I like to ask is what are we solving for? Because in my opinion, people don't move towards gain. They move away from pain. Even in the car industry, and I think one of my favorite, we had one, there was a Ferrari dealer here. Somebody walked into their shop and said, hey, are these the most expensive Ferraris? These are like really expensive. These are the most expensive they have on the island. These are you have the most expensive cars? And the guy said, absolutely not, sir. We will work with you. And he went, all right, thanks. And he walked out.
Because he wanted the most expensive.
He was solving for his neighbor, got a really expensive car, and he wanted to up him there. He was walking away from pain. It had nothing to do with the gain. It was the pain of somebody else is beating me and I need to have something better. But we sold on cost there rather than what we solving for. And that could have been one question. Help me understand. Is that important?
That's so true. It's so true. Like when you prescribe a solution for your customer before you actually have taken the time to ask it, it's wild. I mean,
we call that
right
prescription without diagnosis.
There you go. I'm right now like re-recording all of my SDR training content. I've spent almost 15 hours this week re-recording it. I've been sitting at this desk for many, many hours this week. So I'm putting out all of my content for free on my school community. And it's not anything that's new to me, but it's all stuff that I'm now having to re-record that maybe was just a little not at the quality I wanted before. I'm refining it. I'm having my team edit it. And it's great for me to go back in and do all of that stuff. Continuing to talk about those things in regards to how we sell, the emotion, how we ask the questions, how we just simply say, for instance, car dealership working with. When we first started, I would call and say, hey, this is Matt. Saw you were interested in this 2025 Honda Civic. Just want to set up time for you to come into the dealership, see if we can get you a test drive. Actionable from the jump. Immediately, customer on guard, I'm being sold, resistance, right? Yeah. Well, what is the price? What is this? Always just trying to get a way out of that conversation because they don't want to come in there without having all of the answers first because they don't trust car dealers, right? It's just what it is. So we changed the pitch and we just said, hey, I saw you submitted information on the 2025 Honda Civic. Our job here is to make this process as smooth and as simple as possible. Make sure you have all the questions answered you need. I do have a question for you before we get started. What has you in the market right now? And that prompting of that question made their guard maintain staying down. And one of my biggest things I do in sales is I try to keep their guard as low as possible, as long as possible, before I ever give them the indication or that alert, sale, sale, sale. Because as soon as the sale happens, defenses go up, guard goes up, I can't do it. And so the analogy I've always used, Ryan, is I've always said, I've got the gun, my customer's got the bullets. The tricky thing about this gun is once I start shooting it, I cannot start reloading it anymore. It is it. So my job is to get as many bullets as possible loaded into my chamber, into my clip, so that I don't have to be as precise of a shooter as possible. And if I can get 6, 7 bullets into my gun before I start shooting it, then I have the ability to miss with 1 or 2. But if I get one, like so often salespeople do, they get one, they're like, poof, I don't got any more. And now their guard's up, their defense is up. I can't do anything about it.
You got to fill the chamber, man. Fill the whole chamber. Yeah, man, a lot to unpack there. First of all, it's not just sales. It's not just auto salespeople that they don't trust. They don't trust any salespeople. And if you're watching this and you're a sales professional, salesperson, you and us as Carl are responsible for this. Okay. We're responsible for it. You have to take that responsibility first and know that any single time that they answer, they already dislike you because they think you're a salesperson. So I like how you're doing it. You're looking at, don't let them go to the walls yet. Don't let them kind of already decide this is a salesperson. I got to not trust them. I also have to lie to them right off the bat to let them know that, I'm just kind of looking and I don't really know my budget yet. We all know that's a lie from the buyer. So my suggestion here is a little bit different. Yeah, I think I can give a little bit of free consulting away here. Why not? Right?
There you go.
So here's where I would go, man.
I'll put it all behind a paywall right now. I'm just kidding.
Right now. If you want more. I have no problem with this because again, I don't work too much in that world. And this came from listening to somebody. I was buying my last car,
Okay.
and I love my truck, and I love my dealer, and I love my dude. He was awesome. I recommend him all the time. But I was listening to this other guy on phones, and he kept saying the same kind of thing you were saying. Hey, I saw you were interested, blah, blah. No? Okay, click. No. He did like 25 of those. And I'm a sales trainer sitting there listening to them, waiting for like my paperwork to be done. And I like moved my chair back and I was like, hey, how's it working out there, bud? So I give what's called a negative reverse. So my suggestion here is people hate to lose something. They also hate to be sold. So how do we give them what they want without doing that? So rather than, hey, we recognized, and what you're saying, if it's working, don't fix it. But if what you're saying isn't working, a suggestion is, hey, Matt, recently you filled out some information about this kind of car. And my job here is to make sure that you're no longer interested. So we're going to be taking you off the list. I wanted to make sure you're okay with that.
Okay.
And they're going to go, great, take me off your list. Now you know you're not wasting your time. The other side, they're going to go, hold on. Why are you taking me off the list? Well, we're assuming that you never came in, so that you weren't interested in the car anymore, and that you probably went another direction. Well, no. Tell me more about that.
It's funny you say that, right? I use that strategy. So a lot of what I teach is cold calling, SDR cold calling. And so first step I always say is your outreach, especially like through email outreach, is designed to get a response, not designed to sell them. Like so often people give all of their information in their prospecting email. It's like, I can tell you everything about my company without you ever having to respond, right?
Decision can be made.
Right. But our fourth email in our overall cadence over a 3-week span gets our biggest response. And it's that. And it'll say last chance. And then and in the email, it'll say, hey, I'll assume your lack of response is just due to a lack of interest. To save you the time, I'm not going to follow up anymore because I'm going to assume that you just were afraid to tell us you're not interested.
So why wait 4 emails?
I don't know. I've never thought of pushing it forward. I never thought about starting with the negative.
It's called the negative reverse. Think about it this way. If you have a significant other out there, right? And you're like, hey, what do you want for dinner? And they're like, I don't care. They will be able to tell you what they don't want 10 times over and never be able to tell you what they do want.
Sure.
That's because people inherently know exactly what they don't want. And maybe it's us giving them the opportunity to tell us what they don't want. Hey, I see you looking at cars. I'm imagining, number one, you definitely don't want people like me calling you all the time. What is it that you are looking for? Right? Starting off with a little bit of negative. You definitely don't want people like me banging down your door. What is it that you are looking for? What are you hoping to get by filling out the information? Again, that's another negative reverse. And I love we call that the close the file email. My favorite version of that is we've had a few email exchanges. There's been a lack of response. 3 things have probably happened. Either A, you've decided in the first meeting you didn't like my haircut, and that's okay. I'm a big boy. You could tell me that. B, you're still deciding on this, but you don't really know where you're going to go. And C, you've fallen and you can't get up. You need help. Please blink twice or shoot anything back, and I'll get help for you right away.
Right.
People always laugh a little bit. Ha, 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 I didn't fall. I'm here.
Yep.
I'm not interested. Or I am. A little bit of humor goes a long way, but I really enjoy this idea of negative reverse selling, which is a technique. We talked about behaviors and attitudes, the technique that takes months to master, because when you do it wrong, it comes off as New York sarcastic, which nobody likes.
Look, I'm reading a text I sent this morning, Ryan. It says, hey, Tim, I know you've been busy over there. I assume your lack of response is due to the fact that the proposal that Dan and I sent over about what we offered didn't connect with you and your vision. If so, no sweat. If I can help you in either way, let me know. 2 minutes, I got a response back. Hey, so sorry, not gotten back in the middle of a major launch. Let's set up a call Wednesday. I still am interested. Immediately. Done. And I had sent 3 text messages before, kind of checking in on where we are on the proposal. Wanted to see if you had any feedback. I've been super busy this week, like trying all those different approaches. Nothing. Hit him with that today. Got a response back within 2 minutes, having meetings set up.
Let's go back to mindset, dude. The reason most people won't do that, and it's really hard to coach, is because they still want the yes. They are not willing to say, I actually want the no. Yeah. Right? Anybody who's in my program for more than a year, they switch from I want to close sales to I want to disqualify as many people as possible this week. When you switch that, it is a different animal. It's a different animal. You no longer care about the no. You're actually going for the no. because the only other way they can go is to sell you why they're a yes. It's a phenomenal change, and it's not easy. It takes like a year or so to really fall into that mindset.
I've always said the only thing almost as good as a yes is when you get that no. Because then you stop wasting your time and you can move on and you can move past it. But yeah, I agree with you, Ryan. I think so many people have that scarcity mindset. And unfortunately, that scarcity mindset also falls into how you pitch it and how you sell it. But when you can sell with a fear of loss, when you can sell with a level of indifference, when you can do a takeaway close and you genuinely mean it, that lack of desperation is attractive. I mean, think of back when I've not been single guy for a long time. Ryan, I believe you've not been single for a long time. I've not attempted to try to get girls to go on dates with me for a long time. But I know that back when I did, when I really, really wanted to go on a date with a girl and I really was like, I'll be available next week, the week after that, the week after that, that girl was never interested in me. But what if I was like, hey, I've got a really busy social calendar. I mean, maybe we can grab some coffee on Saturday afternoon. I've got a small window around 3 to 4. Would you want to meet with me then? That girl instantly found me more attractive because I acted like I didn't need her. I would love to carve out time for her, but I didn't need her. And if you treat your prospects and your customers the same way, you will find yourself turning down more deals than them turning you down because they believe you are in demand. That is a valuable thing, especially if you're in a position like Ryan and myself, where you're a coach, where you're offering value. You need to know that your services are in demand. Your product is in demand. And if they think that you've got nothing but time and no demand, they don't want to be the first person who buys from you today. They want to know you've already gotten 4 yeses. And if I happen to get a 5th, well, I wish I didn't have to put the DocuSign together, but I'll do it for you.
Sure. You're talking about credibility, right? People need to show credibility without forcing credibility. And you just gave me a great idea, Matt. Okay. I am going to be building a sequence of messages that I'm going to say I sent to a woman that I was trying to hunt down. And I guarantee everyone's going to go, oh, God, she's never calling. You seem desperate. And then I'm going to show them that that's a sales interaction. And they're probably going to align 90% of their emails the same way, right? Yeah. Think about that. That is genius, man. I love that. A little stroke of genius there. Some genius attacks happen.
Every once in a while, you slip and fall into 1 or 2 of those there. But
hey, some of them got to be winners.
We were talking a little bit, you guys, even though that you, as a Sandler organization, you've never really gravitated towards automotive, but you've seen maybe there's something there with some of the landscape changes. You were kind of talking with me about it before the show started. What have you seen? What are you looking at? And maybe what advice can I give you on that or just experience?
You know, what I'm seeing now is again, we talked about it earlier, there's more buyer power. Right. And what I mean by that is they have the world at their fingertips, literally on their phone. They can see pricing. They can see models. They come in and they're like sold on this idea. And I don't know yet, I think that most sellers in this space are missing that entire part to like figure out that they don't actually know what the hell they want. Right? Instead, they're going, yeah, consumers. Just let me show you. Let me show you that exact thing that you think you want, rather than stepping back and saying, are you sure that's what you want? Is that actually going to do the thing you think it's going to do? And that's where I think it's a problem, but I don't know.
I'll tell you, over 80% of car buyers do not buy the car they set the appointment for.
Interesting.
Okay.
80%. Okay.
Over 80% do not buy the car that they set the appointment for. So they submit a lead on one car, and over 80% of them leave with a different car. And to your point, most people don't know what they want. They might think they want something, but then when they actually get into the reality of it, those things are not as important. A lot of times people are looking for some of the material things, the aesthetical things, but the functional things are actually what are going to gravitate them to the final decision. What I would tell you as well, Ryan, that I think you'd find interesting, which I think a lot of dealerships really struggle with, is what is their unique value proposition as a dealership? Mm-hmm. And if you think that your product is the vehicle, you're wrong as a dealer. Your product's not the vehicle. What makes you different than everybody else who sells that exact same vehicle? That's what people need to be able to be better at in the dealership world, which is you're buying from me. You're buying from this dealership. If you have a scenario where you know that the average car buyer doesn't buy one car from the dealership, but they buy over 5 cars from the same dealership in their lifetime. And the number one revenue place of a car dealership, Ryan, you're not from the space. Where do you think is the number one department that generates revenue in a dealership?
Number one that generates revenue, service.
That's it. The fixed operations side of the business is the biggest revenue generator in the business. Most dealerships from the sales side of the business are hardly profitable.
Listen, I can relate. The reason I'm in the truck I am now is because of the service with the other truck. And I was always a Ford guy. That's who I was. The service on my last truck was so garbage. I tried to move to another dealer and I ended up completely leaving Ford altogether. I couldn't do it because of the service. So I can relate, man. That makes sense.
If a dealership focuses on their service drive before they focus on their sales floor will go up drastically. And so not only like if they just are supplementing their service drive by reaching out to the people in their community who are taking their vehicles to independent service places, to other dealerships, and they find a value prop for them to come service at their location, those customers will be more likely to buy from them than any other customer out there, any other just random lead who has no loyalty to them because they don't service their vehicle there. And if you sell that car without a service package included, that customer is a one-done guy. So how much you sell the car for doesn't actually matter. It matters in what you sell on top of the car to be able to actually make profit on a single customer. That's what I've found in the dealership world. And I've only been on the dealership side of this business for a year and a half. I've actually sold to dealers for the past 15 years, but I've learned this over the past year. So if you end up working with dealerships, those would be, in my opinion, the things that I would say for you, you could work with them on is your unique value proposition, how to drive more people to your service drive to convert them onto the sales side, and knowing that over 80% of your customers don't actually buy the car they submitted the lead on.
So question around that. How are you driving people to your service side? What's one thing you think that sellers should do, whether it's at the beginning or the end of the process, that is going to help them, a talk track maybe, or some sort of incentive? Like, how are they going to drive people that way?
So there's 2 ways. So number one, you want to get more people into your service drive. And through that, I think the best approach is still marketing, okay? So there's a ton of third-party analytical data that can tell you who's servicing, how long they've been in there. There's equity mining data that's out there for car dealerships. If you talk to a car dealership, they'll know exactly what that stuff means. But I would tell you one of the things that most dealerships aren't doing effectively, which is a sales technique, which is every single day, that dealership has anywhere from 20 to 100 service customers coming into their bay, coming into their store every single day to service the vehicle. You have a list of their names, contact information. You reach out to those customers, confirm their appointment, and say, hey, when you come in, our used car manager is aggressively attacking vehicles just like yours to put in our used car inventory. If we were willing to make an aggressive offer on your vehicle, would you at least be willing to hear us? Okay. And that's called a service to sales approach. And if you get 20% of your customers that convert from your service drive into us being able to make an offer on your used car, 100% of those customers that accept that used car offer will ultimately buy a new car as well.
I love that, man. I love that. And we talked a little bit about credibility. We talked about, making sure you don't put up the sales walls and stuff. And I look at a 360 view for any sale, right? It has to start in the beginning of how you do it, but you also have to carry that credibility all the way through. And my specific truck that I bought, I'll never forget, at the end, he was like, thank you so much. This is great working with you. And then he leaned in, he said, hey, I know they gave you the free car wash. It's like, don't ever bring it to here. The car wash will damage your car. Don't bring it here. And then he leaned back out and said, so thank you so much, man. It's been great working with you. Right there, though, I was like, that's awesome information that he had no reason to tell me.
Yeah.
But the credibility statement in that of like, I care about you, it felt good leaving and it gave me a smile. And I was like, he just helped me out, right? Like whether or not that was true or not, he helped me to see something that I myself did not. I was like, yeah, I'm going to use this all the time. And he was like, watch out. Right? Don't do that. Go to a real car wash. You bought a really nice truck. Like, take care of it. And it was awesome.
And that right there is taking care of the customer in a way that goes the extra mile. And to that point, I would bet you, and you kind of already said it earlier, he didn't just earn the next vehicle's first chance, right? And he might not earn your business on the next vehicle, but he's going to earn a chance to earn yours. But I
100%.
already know that if you got a buddy, a friend, a family member who's thinking about buying a car, go check Johnny out over at the store. He took care of me.
Never talked about my truck more. I'm not even a truck person. It's a utilitarian thing. I needed to pull some stuff and I needed to go on the beach. And now I talk about it all over the place.
Sure.
I'm like, you got to go see my dude. My dude is awesome. He's not like your typical car salesman. And people love that. They're like, oh, okay. And my credibility goes a long way with them, and they're going to do that. You know, I mean, that's what I teach. And when it comes down to it, I teach people how to have a little bit of humbleness around it and not be so rigid in the process. If people see your process, they know like, oh, I know why he's asking that. We're going to go here next. That's a problem, right? Your process should be conversational. Your process should be in the background. It shouldn't be up front and center. Like, well, we did this. Now we're going to do this. Now we're going to do that. That's checking the boxes. And I think rigidity is what people accidentally do there, right? They stick to this rigid process when just be yourself a little bit, but understand the concepts, which is why training takes so long, because at first you absolutely are stuck in the process, right? You're fumbling through. How do I get to the next step? And people see it. It is a move. It feels like a move. It smells like a move. They see it. You know it until it doesn't. And when that clicks, dude, that's igniting joy. And when people are like, holy Lord, I just ran a sales call where I felt great, they felt great, and they bought, like that's next level.
It's the win-win across the board. All right, so Ryan, I want to end with this, and this is a big thing that's on my mind right now, and hopefully it's on almost everybody's mind. And I think you just said you guys just came back from some sort of conference or meeting or something, and a basis around what you were talking about was AI. If you had to project a couple of things that are going to happen with AI, the use of it, the value of it, the things to look for that maybe aren't being talked about openly or you're hearing a lot of outside the box, what are some things that are on your mind around AI, the goods, the bads, the fears, everything else? I'd love to hear your kind of like as a final topic for us to go through.
Yeah. All right. My personal opinion is AI is not going to replace sales professionals.
Okay.
I truly believe that. However, companies and sales professionals, individuals who utilize AI will replace those who do not. So I'll say that again. Companies and individuals who use AI will replace those who do not, right? You have to embrace it. This is like not embracing the internet back in like the late 60s, early 70s. People are like, that's going to break things. You can't do it on a computer. It's not as safe. And they were behind. Banks for not doing virtual. They could have done automatic and online banking 30 years ago. And they chose not to because they were too afraid to go that way. The banks who did, they were the next level, right? The TDs of the world who were like the first ones coming out. We're going to do this instead. All of a sudden, all the other banks fell in, but they were behind. So I think when it comes to AI, you have to be an early adopter. And there's two ways that I look at it. Seller role simplification. You know, what tools are you using to make your job easy, make your job like just flow better, right? How are you creating AI bots to create your flow better? Whether it's note taking or automatically writing emails or automatically doing some mundane task that you don't need to do anymore, like do that. Do that today. Yeah. The other side of this is really the coaching and the ability for it to be adaptive. What I mean by that is I'm a sales coach and there are AI bots that are really, really good sales coaches. I'm utilizing those. I think that access to those is a phenomenal tool for me because it helps me to reinforce what I do, how I do it in between times that I'm not able to. You can sign on at midnight and role play with an AI bot. I think that's key. Some red flags though? If you want to jump in first, go for it.
No, I mean, look, I want to agree with you. I don't. I want to agree with you. I agree with the sentiment that today, right now, it's AI cannot replace salespeople today. I think that the best salespeople today already should be using AI in a major way. I mean, every time I jump into a meeting, I jump on and I've got my note taker and it sends me a recap, sends me action items. It integrates in with my CRM. It sets up a follow-up task. My CRM that I have built has all of the automated text outreach campaigns, reminder texts, emails that go out. I can put a single person in an automated workflow and it does ultimately like 12 different workflow processes before I ever even have to get involved. We have, on my real estate side of my business, we have already created created an AI bot that does voice outreach automations that has been able to replace our virtual assistants. And they are just as good quality. They can go through now the tasks of what a real estate virtual assistant wholesaling qualifying bot needs to be able to do is not super advanced things. They need to be able to communicate, ask a few questions, be able to simulate a human experience. In right now, today, the middle of November of 2025, it is better than my actual employees were. And we have replaced employees with AI right now. Now, in regards to SDRs, I believe in the next 12 months, AI will be better than SDRs and will be better than 95% of SDRs in the space today within the next year. I think the biggest challenge that needs to be closed in regards to AI being effective as an SDR is that it needs to be able to have the memory capable built in to how it navigates gatekeepers, especially in a business-to-business environment, to understand the intelligence of when I'm trying to get Johnny, the CEO, that I might get Susie, the sales manager, I might get the receptionist, and to be able to remember all of the conversations to use in my next conversation. But within a year, I believe, by the end of 2026, I believe that AI will be better than 95% of BDRs. Now, I believe when most people, and probably including you, when you say AI won't replace salespeople, we're looking at the close-end, back-end, transactional, presenting, closing a solution. And unfortunately, Ryan, I still believe that in the next 3 years, that AI will be better than 98% of presenters, closers in dealing with connection relationship and being able to understand the pain points and being able to provide a solution and to be able to provide everything that needs to be done. It's going to take work, but I think that in the next 3 years, we're going to see about 100x level of advancement on what AI is from what it is today. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope you're right. But I'd rather prepare for me being right than me being wrong.
I don't disagree that the technology is going to get there and it's going to get better. But I think there is going to be an uprising. Okay. Not an AI uprising. Don't worry.
Consumer side, right?
I think there's going to be an uprising of individual humans, right? Already we're seeing this. You send me an AI message, I'm not even talking to you. You call me with an AI bot, you're done in my world. Right? That old world is still in the place, right? And some of us who are going to be living through this next generation will be sitting in those leadership seats, and we're going to be making those decisions of, if you do this, then we are no longer talking. And I think that I've already seen a lot of this, that there is going to be an uprising from us, and which is where it has to come from, that it's not going to get there. And to your point of like, it's quicker, it's easier, it's there. There's a reason why. When was the last restaurant you went to that you enjoyed that cooks everything in a microwave?
Sure. Yeah, there's quality is going to, I think it's the question of simplicity. I mean, here's the devil's advocate argument to where I think society generally goes. Cell phones, the convenience, you give up all of your freedom for convenience.
Sure.
Right? You give up all of your privacy for convenience. We all know that my cell phone right here is listening to everything I say at all times. And I'm fine with it because it's convenient. It gives me fun. I get to watch some cool little videos every once in a while on my TikTok or Instagram. We think back when, Ryan, you and I were young. My mother would say, don't get in a car with a stranger. We literally summon a stranger to our house to pick up our wives, to take them to the airport right now because of convenience and because of technology.
Sure.
By the average household buys more things on Amazon than they buy outside of Amazon right now because of convenience. And like when I was growing up, but if I wanted to buy technology, I'd go to Best Buy because of the experience. But today, the inconvenience of me getting in my car, driving 10 miles to Best Buy, having to deal with a salesperson and then having to go through the transactional process, the inconvenience of that makes it to where I will pay even more money, not less. I will pay more money to have the convenience of never leaving my couch and buying it on Amazon. It delivers the next day to my front door. And so what I believe is there will be a resistance. There will be a hesitation. But I think that slowly, number one, I think there will be an adoption due to convenience. And I think number two, and this is where governmental interference will affect this, and I think the only place we slow down the effectiveness of it is when government requires AI to be identified as AI. But I think that within the next 6 months, you won't be able to tell it's AI.
I will say this. Every example you gave was a good one. But in the essence of convenience, it was the convenience of the buyer that you were talking about. Now you're talking about with AI doing sales, SDR's work and doing things, is the convenience of the seller. How is it convenient or more convenient for the buyer?
Transparency. Like when I think of the car dealership, the problem they have is they don't trust the car dealer. When I can assume that the
You think
AI is going
people
to be,
trust computers? What?
I think so. I do think that they will. And I think that it's going to be a marketing, a branding. I think that there will be the ability to how it's positioned in the market. And I do think that there will be a level of convenience. I agree with you that the convenience side will benefit that. But I also believe that one of the other things, think about this. Back in the 90s and 50s, where was everything built? In America, right?
Michigan.
Yeah, in Michigan, right? But then we offshored it. And we offshored most of the stuff for convenience of price, right? And when we say that now the company, the corporation, has a 10% of the cost to run its operation, which in turn might save the consumer 10 to 15% in regards to its product offering. And now by buying it through AI, the companies who utilize that same service, that commodity is now 15% cheaper because of the cost of the business is cheap. Now do I buy from that company versus the American-made leather boot company who I pay twice the cost, but it's made by Americans?
So I don't know who said it. I can't remember the name right now, but there is zero upside of being the second less expensive.
Yeah.
So that's fine. You want to sell your services for cheaper and tell them that AI is doing it and allowing you to do that, great. I will always be the more expensive choice. And you're going to have to make that decision on whether or not quality is where you're at or why I'm the most expensive. And that's not for me to tell you. That's a cost conversation.
Of course.
This is a value thing, right? There's a reason why my favorite statement ever was someone asked me, said, well, why would somebody pay that much more for you? And then I said, yeah. So they said, well, why do you think?
Yeah.
They rattled off 15 reasons why they think we were better than other people. And I just stayed out of the way.
Your question, buddy.
All right.
Yeah. I agree. There will be sellers without AI that are going to be in the market. They're going to get really damn good at being able to sell against AI, the AI experience. There will be that aspect. I'm just saying and like I said, Ryan, I hope you're wrong, right, and I'm wrong. I would love there to be a revolt because that's my career too. It's your career. It's what we're built on. Our industry is built on. But at the same time, I'd always rather take the approach of looking at the most pessimistic viewpoint of this process. And I'm a very optimistic person, but I like to look at the pessimistic viewpoint so I'm prepared for the worst. And if anything less than the worst happens, at least I've over-prepared. That's my perspective on it. I hope you're right. I find myself getting into intentional debates on LinkedIn all the time around this topic because I find it a very interesting topic to talk about.
I've already positioned myself as I'm going to quote this, AI expert. I don't know why people keep calling me. I know slightly more than other people, or I know 1,000 times more than some people who have just never adopted.
100%.
So I keep putting myself on stage. My hope is when the robots take over, they like me, they see me as a friend, and I'll be able to be on stage still promoting for them, right? I'll do that promotion.
Yeah. Well, Ryan, look, brother, we're over time. I could talk to you all day. I'm sure you and I are going to have many other conversations in the near future. Just to cut it short, last words. One final thing you want to say to everybody that's listening. If there's one thing you can say, what is it?
Decision to not make a decision is still a decision. Choice is yours.
Perfect. So let's move together, Ryan, in igniting as much joy as possible. I'm going to push that mission out soon. And for all of you listeners, here's what I want you to do. Engage with the content. The biggest thing you can do, like, comment, share, get this in front of as many people as possible. Help Ryan out, help me out. Hopefully you've seen value in this, and sharing this content with more people can allow Ryan, can allow myself to help more people. I know Ryan wants to help more people. I know I want to help more people. And the best way you can do that is to share this with as many people as possible. Until next time, see you guys soon.
Yeah.